guys, I'm Wolverine! What? Wouldn't it be cool if you had claws come out of your hands and super cute human senses?
What do you mean by super acute human senses?
Like, he'd have sharper hearing than your average human being. He'd be able to hear things from afar. Oh, and his vision too. His vision would be more enhanced and he'd be able to see things from a long distance and more vividly.
As cool as that sounds, get it? It sounds. Okay, well, as I was saying, sensitive, acute human senses, right? Yeah. So, if he had sharper hearing, that would have to mean that all the parts of his ear would be really sensitive to sound waves. So imagine this. His eardrum, hammers, anvil, and strum would be more sensitive to those vibrations, you know? If his hearing is really sensitive, that would mean even the slightest vibration would cause them to move. Considering the average human ear gets damaged at 85 decibels, think about what would happen if he heard what we consider a high-intensity sound, like a sonic boom or Hulk's thunderclap, which, by the way, can be compared to the sound of a jet engine with a sound intensity of 140 decibels. A sound like that would cause Wolverine to go deaf in an instant.
Make the ground shake.
As for his enhanced vision, a really bright light shone on his eyes would hurt him more than your average Joe.
Okay, yeah, I get that. But what about his bone claws?
Well, you know, his claws come out of his hands at an incredible speed with an incredible amount of force. And if you think about it, wouldn't it cause some friction that could inflict some pain internally every time he whips them out? Like, let's think back to Newton's first law. An object in motion will stay in motion, and an object at rest will stay at rest, unless an external force acts upon it. So say for example, his claws came out of his hands in a forward direction with the force of 600 newtons. Considering the fact that they're embedded within his arms, I'd imagine that your average human would get pulled with the force. But it would also depend on their weight. And the same thing goes for when the claws are retracted, so like, your arm could violently jerk in the opposite direction. And the friction between the bones and everything else in your arm could cause some really serious injuries.
But Wolverine heals really quickly, so it wouldn't matter.
But what about that adamantium though? That would add mass and weight to his body. I'd imagine that a person like that would be bad at swimming, considering his reduced buoyancy. And not only that, wouldn't it be hard for an average human to be carrying themselves around with that much force of gravity acting on them? You know, because of his increased mass and weight? Oh, and adamantium's a metal, so he can easily be beat if you had a really big magnet.
Yeah, I guess you guys make a good point. Yes!
But at the end of the day, Wolverine has some pretty good superpowers. For a fictional character, that is.
Okay.